All right, so it says consider the quadratic function there, and then it says the vertex. So the vertex you can find just using the vertex formula, but um, now it wants us to find the largest x-intercept and the y-intercept. Y-intercept is pretty straightforward as well. We're just going to plug in 0 for x, so this goes away, which means we're left with negative 24. So let's focus on this guy, the value of the largest x-intercept. So basically, we're trying to figure out what values of x make this thing equal to 0. Whenever I have a quadratic with an a term, b term, and a c term, I always want to leave all the terms on one side. Don't bring the 24 over, because the only way to solve a quadratic that has a constant, an x term, and an x squared term is by either factoring or using the quadratic formula. So you always want to keep these three terms on the exact same side. So I'm just going to rewrite it. So I have 0 equals 3x squared minus 14x minus 24. So you can try and factor a 3 out, but 3 doesn't go into 14, so that's going to be an issue. So you can use the quadratic formula, all right, or you can use the MUDSS method. So I'll show you the MUDSS method, and then if you're not a fan of it, because some people aren't, then we'll just do the quadratic formula instead. So the MUDSS method looks like this. So I have MUD, and there's two S's in MUDSS. So the M in MUDSS stands for multiply. This is used for factoring quadratics that have an A value greater than 1 or other than 1. So what I do is I'm going to multiply the first term by the last term. So this is going to go away. So I'm left with x squared minus 14x minus 24 times 3. That's going to be 72. Now, I should have, if this is factorable, I should have a quadratic that is factorable. So then we say, all right, two numbers that multiply to negative 72 and add up to 14, or add up to negative 14. So let's see, let me get my calculator out. Let's start listing some factors of 72. So let's see, we have 72 divided by 4, 18 and 4. There we go. So this is going to be negative 18 and positive 4. Negative 18 times 4 is negative 72. Negative 18 plus 4 is negative 14. So this U stands for unfoil. That's what we did. Now, moving right along, the first D is going to be divide. So we're going to take these numbers in our factors and divide by the original coefficient we multiplied by. From there, we're going to go to the first S, which is simplify. Either term that reduces, we're going to reduce. So this is x minus 18 over 3 is 6. And then this one doesn't reduce, so we're going to leave that as 4/3. And then lastly, the second S stands for slide, which means any denominator that's left over, we're going to slide to the front of the x. So my final factored form is x minus 6 times the quantity 3x plus 4. And if you FOIL this out, you will in fact get that quadratic. So I want to know what values of x make this 0. So if you solve, you get x equals 6 or negative 4/3. Okay, and the larger of the two is obviously 6. Okay, so that's the MUDSS method. Can also be done using the quadratic formula. So if I'm just going to run through this quickly. If I use the quadratic formula, I get x equals negative b, which is positive 14, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 14 squared, 196, minus 4 times 3 times negative 24. 4 times 3 times negative 24. It's minus negative 288, so it's going to be plus 288 all over 2a, which is 6. X equals 14 plus or minus the square root 196 plus 288, which is 484 over 6. I believe that's 22. Yep. So we get X equals 14 plus or minus 22 over 6. So we get 14 plus 22, that's 36 over 6. Or 14 minus 22, which is negative 8 over 6, which is negative 4/3. So we get negative 4/3. And oops, let me reduce that. And 6. So our answer here is still 6. So again, the only way to solve these is to get all the terms on one side and either factor it, either by straightforward factoring or the MUDSS method, or using the quadratic formula.